On today's show, Jalen Green carried the Rockets offense with a season-high 41 points, and Alperen Sengun stepped up again as the closer in the Houston Rockets overtime win against the Philadelphia 76ers. We're going to break it all down for you right here at Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
An ugly win is still a win, and the Houston Rockets escaped yet another overtime with the 122-115 dub against the Philadelphia 76ers. They've improved to now 14-6 on the season and are in sole possession of the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. What's up? And welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Thursdays. Be sure to follow along wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Rockets, where the best way that you can help us grow our show is to listen every single day on a podcast platform of your choosing. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Drop a comment. Tell me your favorite moment from this game. Tell me your thoughts about this game, or just do a drive-by, say Go Rockets. It helps us out a ton. Also, be sure to subscribe to the new daily Locked On Rockets newsletter. If you're watching on YouTube, you can scan that QR code in the bottom right corner of your screen. All those subscriptions help us out a ton. We're still behind the Dallas Mavericks, and I hate that, guys. Please subscribe. We cannot be losing to the Mavericks in this regard. Now, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on your way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym, during Thanksgiving dinner, perhaps. Shout out to everybody listening to this. I hope you're enjoying your Thanksgiving holiday, spending time with friends, family, all that good stuff. And of course, thank you so much for tuning into the show and being one of our fantastic everydayers. The Rockets getting the 122-115 overtime win against the corpse of the Philadelphia 76ers. Look, if one overtime wasn't enough against the Minnesota Timberwolves, Rockets just said they'd run it right back. And they were like, you know what? Let's do OT again against the 76ers. No Joel Embiid, no Paul George, no Kyle Lowry, all of them out. Kyle Lowry sitting on the bench with a hoodie and a piece of tape that said Coach Kyle Lowry on his shirt. And yet the Rockets found themselves in a dogfight with a pretty bad Philadelphia 76ers team. But again, an ugly win is still a win. We're going to get into talking about Jalen Green's season-high 41, how effective and efficient he looked in this game against the 76ers. The Terror Twins off the bench, Tari and Amen getting their work in. Got to talk about Dillon Brooks with his arguably his worst ever game as a member of the Houston Rockets, quite possibly. But where I want to start is with the man in the middle, the guy who makes things happen for this Rockets team, Alperen Sengun, and just how amazing he was. He was the closer in this game. He brought this game home. And he delivered on both ends of the court. So first off, Sengun had a slow start to the game. Only 2 points at halftime. Definitely some, questionable decision-making at times in the first half or through the first, 3.5 quarters or so. And look, the Rockets looked like at the very end of regulation, it looked like the Rockets were getting ready to run away with this game. They had an 8-point lead with just under 2 minutes to play. They went up 108-100 off of a sweet little layup from Amen Thompson off a dime by Alp. But then the 76ers reeled off a few quick points. Ricky Council hit a three, Yabusele hit a layup, and the Rockets just couldn't buy a bucket down the stretch of this game. And so down 108-105, Tyrese Maxey is able to dribble the ball up. 76ers run a play to basically try to get Tyrese Maxey, going downhill, coming up, full court, whatever, out of the timeout. And Dillon Brooks, adding to, insult to injury here with his off shooting night, fouls Tyrese Maxey, gives him 3 shots. Maxey ties it up, and the Rockets have 11 seconds left in regulation to win the game. And at this point, Jalen Green was sitting on 38 points. He was absolutely the hot hand for the Rockets. And even in the moment, I thought to myself, yeah, Jalen should probably get the final shot of the game. It's been his game. It's been his night. He's been dominant. He's carried the Rockets offense. He should get the final shot of the game. So I was shocked that Ime Udoka opted to go with Alperen Sengun, who honestly up to that point had a bit of an off night, honestly. Second night of a back-to-back, another really long, grueling, slog-it-out game. The Rockets got into Philly at like 2, 3, 4 in the morning, whatever it was. So, I was shocked that Ime went with Alp for the final play of the game. He drew up, Alp on the perimeter, just a face-up isolation play. Now, it wasn't a great play, and it wasn't the best of, moves by Alperen Sengun. Didn't get anything going, and overtime happens there. But that moment signaled something that, look, Alp's the closer for this team. Ime tapped Alperen Sengun and said, no, the ball is yours. Go win us the game. And he wasn't able to do it at the end of regulation, but he still stuck with Alp and went back to him repeatedly in overtime, where Alp did wind up taking this game over. He scored 11 of his 22 points in this game in the overtime period. Also went along with 5 rebounds, had a insane blocked shot on Tyrese Maxey, got a fingertip on the ball. They called it a goaltend originally, and then they reviewed it, and they realized, okay, no, it was a clean block. And just the overall defense from Alp, the Rockets held Tyrese Maxey scoreless in overtime. He was 0 of 3, 0 points in the overtime period. And that was in large part due to not just the, elite perimeter defense and wing defense, from the Rockets, defenders on the perimeter, but it was Sengun. It was the scheme. It was him showing and recovering and stunting towards the ball and just everything that he was doing to make Tyrese Maxey uncomfortable to help the Rockets perimeter guys, slowing him down. And it really is like Alperen Sengun has truly become a two-way force. And for him to be able to do what he did defensively in this game, to show up when it mattered most, and to deliver in OT, that's what star players do. And Ime Udoka said as much post-game. He also shared a little anecdote from Fred VanVleet. We'll run that thing back right here, right now.
Alpie woke up. Fred said to him, looked at his fake watch and said, well, thanks for showing up at 9:30. But he showed up, and, that's good players do that, obviously, on a tough night. And so, tough stretch, getting in 2, 3, 4 in the morning, going to sleep, whatever, and having to bounce back and play another overtime game. So happy with that effort, and made it harder than it had to be, but 2 sweet wins on the road.
I love that line. Thanks for showing up at 9:30. I could 100% see Fred VanVleet saying that line to Alperen Sengun. But look, like it is. Ime said it. That's what star players do. It was a slow, quiet, rough, whatever you want to call it, first half for Alp. Probably again very exhausted from the overtime game the night before, the travel, all of that. But when it came time for the Rockets to win the game, Alp showed up, and Ime Udoka trusted him to be the closer. And I think that should be the major takeaway here is, yes, Jalen Green had the hot hand, and he was offensively, he was on one in this game. But when it came time to win the game and it came crunch time, Ime said, no, Alp, the ball is yours. Go win us the game. And it didn't quite work at the end of regulation, but then he turned it around. He brought the game home in overtime yet again, right? He did it the game before against the Wolves, and he did it in this game against the Philadelphia 76ers. Just a stellar performance, a fantastic close to this game. And if there were any questions about Sengun and is he the best player? Is he the Rockets' go-to guy or whatever? This should answer that, right? Ime trusted Sengun and said, no, you're our guy. Go win us the game. And he did just that. Coming up, we got to talk about Jalen Green and his season-high 41. Jalen absolutely carried this Houston Rockets offense through the first 4 quarters, through regulation of this game. Got to also talk about the Terror Twins, Dillon Brooks and his struggles, and so much more. We're going to get to all of that here in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one spot. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the exact same page where you actually place your bets. Just go to FanDuel.com to join today. While you're there, check out all the different odds that they have available to you. You can check out their parlay builder, different season awards recipients or leaders. Or also just the favorites to win this year's Super Bowl. Right now, the Detroit Lions plus 300, the Chiefs behind them at plus 500, the Eagles plus 650, and rounding out the top five, you have the Ravens and the Bills both at plus 700. So again, that's all over at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Look, the Houston Rockets got a win, and you know what that means.
Release the hounds.
Everybody that's listening to this, you're watching it on YouTube, head on over to the Locked On Sixers channel. Drop a comment under their reaction video. Let them know that Locked On Rockets sent you over there. Release the hounds, the H-O-U. Hounds. Let's go. All right. Let's get into Jalen Green's game here because first off, this Rockets team does not. They would have been absolutely smoked in this game by an awful 76ers team without Jalen Green's season high 41. Easily the best game of the season for Jalen Green, the most efficient, effective offensive game, I think by far. 41 points, 12 of 20 shooting. He was 4 of 6 from downtown. And get this, 13 of 14 at the free throw line. He was drawing free throws at an insane rate in this game. To go along with 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block shot. He did have 5 turnovers. Then the Rockets as a team did an awful job taking care of the basketball in this game. They had 20 turnovers as a team. The Rockets are usually one of the best teams in the entire NBA at taking care of the basketball. In this game, though, they had 21 total turnovers to the tune of 17 76ers points. And that's an issue because the Rockets generally, right, their recipe for success is taking care of the basketball. And then the Rockets are usually one of the teams out there forcing turnovers, disrupting opposing offenses, getting out and running in transition, all that stuff. In this case, the 76ers, they're one of the best teams in the NBA at stealing the basketball. They're top 3 in steals per game, and so they were really active. They were deflecting some passes. There was also definitely some fatigue at play here, some just sloppy play, some inadvertent passes, some unforced errors by the Rockets in this game. Again, uncharacteristic turnovers is what I would call them for some of the turnovers in this game by the Rockets. But look, for Jalen Green in this one, he absolutely carried the Rockets offense. And even post-game, when he did his walk-off interview with Vanessa Richardson, he even kind of, poked a little fun at himself and was very self-aware that, he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically said something like, I was a little rested, because I didn't play as much last night, because he wasn't, right? He only played 20-something minutes in the game against the Wolves. And so it makes sense that, hey, all the other starters and Amen were more than likely flat out gassed from, right, the effort of winning that game, the cup game against the Wolves. So for Jalen to know, hey, all right, all my teammates, they're, worn out, they're tired, they're exhausted. It's my turn to step up, right? Like, I need to deliver and help us get this win. And he jumped out from the jump of this game and was on fire. Knocked down some early shots, got it going offensively. He had 18 points in the first quarter. Like, this was one of those, like, I don't want to say vintage, but like one of those like staple, like Jalen Green is hot and he's going to explode. And the best part is he didn't just have that first hot quarter and then disappear, the rest of the game. Sometimes he has a tendency to do that. He'll have like that one like supernova quarter, and then he'll have a quarter where he doesn't score anything, and then he'll like just kind of fade into the background for the rest of the game or whatever. Didn't do that in this one. Had 18 in that first quarter, only 3 points in the second quarter, but not too big of a deal. And then he was effective and he was competent the rest of the way. And it was the way that he was scoring in this game. he didn't just rely on the three ball. He wasn't just falling in love with, oh, the three ball's going for me this game, so I'm just going to keep pulling up from long distance. No, he was only 4 of 6 from downtown. He attacked the rim so much in this game. He got downhill constantly. There was nobody on the 76ers that could really stay in front of him. And there, with no Embiid in there and with no real, rim protecting, shot blocking big, because they start Andre Drummond. He's not, really a shot blocker. He's a fantastic rebounder, but he's not a true shot blocking presence. They had Yabusele in there, but he's not like a vertical, rim protecting threat. KJ Martin, sure, but he's more of like that weak side rotate over shot blocker, whatever. And generally, at least historically, Rockets fans should know this. He generally gets his blocks oftentimes against bigs that are making their moves down low, not really like guards that are driving in and getting downhill. So Jalen Green, his shot profile in this game, he only attempted one long 2-pointer that he hit, and he was 4 of 6 from downtown, 12 of 20 overall. And again, got to the free throw line 14 times and hit 13 of them. Just an absolutely flawless offensive, efficient performance from Jalen Green. And the hope here is that Jalen can take this game, right, and build on this game, right? Hopefully this can be the game that, shakes him loose a little bit, right? And reignites his confidence and gets him back playing this type of basketball. Yes, the 76ers are not a good team, missing so many key players. But even the fact that they've missed so many of their key guys this season, they're still a middle of the pack defensive team. It's not like they're at the bottom of the where are they at? Where are defensive standings here? I had this pulled up for a reason. Yeah, bottom 3 teams in defensive rating in the NBA. It's the Pelicans, Wizards, and Utah Jazz. The 76ers have been flirting with being middle of the pack. They're 18th in defensive rating. So they're not like a complete pushover defensively. They're a Nick Nurse coach team. They still have good defensive principles. They still, they help at the nail. They collapse the paint. They do a decent enough job. Jalen just did a really good job with his decision making. He looked decisive in this game. And I do really think that there was a little bit of something of knowing coming into this game, okay, second night of a back-to-back, all the other guys, right, the other starters and Amen just played 40-plus minutes each, whatever, to get us this OT win. I was on the bench. I had an off game. Let me show up. Let me show up for my guys. And he did that. And again, Jalen doesn't have to be this version of himself every single night for the Rockets to be, an elite team. They're already an elite team despite his offensive struggles and where his numbers have been at for a few weeks now. If he can just bring a little bit of this more consistently. And the biggest part of it is the downhill pressure. When Jalen and some of it is, the 76ers don't have a ton of great, perimeter defenders, guys that are applying a ton of ball pressure. So that's something that definitely helped him a little bit in this game. But, at the end of the day, if Jalen Green can get downhill, can find that confidence, can come off screens and be decisive and make those moves and collapse a defense or just get to the rim and force the issue, draw fouls, get those kick out passes, that's when he is at his best. And that's when the Rockets have another layer to their offensive approach. And in fact, in this game, it was great to see Ime kind of adjusting his rotations to match, right? Jalen was on fire. So instead of Jalen getting subbed out early, Fred VanVleet was the guy who got subbed early in the first quarter. And then Fred came back to run the second unit of this team in this game. And we're going to talk about the rotations, the substitution patterns here in just a second, because the Rockets' second unit definitely struggled a little bit. And there's issues with that second unit. And the fact that it's less so, I do think some of Jalen's struggles are not explicitly his own fault, but it's kind of, I guess, the lightning rod issue here is that the second unit for the Rockets has struggled at times when they're not getting stops and getting out and running in transition. The half-court offense for the second unit is just garbage. And it's going to look garbage whether it's Jalen running the second unit or it's going to look garbage whether it's Fred running the second unit. Something has to change there. Want to talk about that. Want to talk about some of the rotations, substitutions. Got to talk about the Terror Twins, Amen Thompson and Tari Eason. And we're going to talk about Dillon Brooks not hitting anything in this game. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by Skylight Frames. Look, do you want to celebrate with and stay connected to the people who are far away from you that are important to you in your life? Maybe you're missing someone this holiday season and you want them to be part of your festivities from far away. We've got the perfect gift for you. Skylight Frame is the touchscreen digital photo frame your whole family will absolutely love. Upload thousands of different photos with your phone and watch them appear in just seconds. It's so easy to use. Setup takes less than 60 seconds. They've got seamless sharing. Invite friends and family to easily share photos via the free Skylight mobile app. It's so user-friendly, you're not going to believe it. Add new photos straight from your phone from anywhere. The touchscreen is a total game changer. You can swipe through different photos, tap to see new photos, and tap the heart button to say thank you to whoever sent you the photos. They've got 2 different sizes to choose from. It's better than social media. It's great. It's a private way to share photos without posting it for the entire world to see and get their hands on, right? And now, as a special limited time offer for our listeners, get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/NBA. That's skylightframe.com/NBA. Get $20 off your purchase now at skylightframe.com/NBA. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. All right, really quickly, looking at the 76ers side of things, honestly, the Rockets did about as good of a job as you could hope they did on Tyrese Maxey in this game. I mean, there's literally only one guy that you really have to stop on this 70s. Well, maybe 2 guys that you have to stop because Jared McCain's been playing out of his freaking mind lately. But Tyrese Maxey, he did finish with 39 points, but it took him 34 shots to get there. He was 14 of 34 from the floor, 6 of 12 from downtown. He had 10 dimes, but the Rockets also forced him into 4 different turnovers. Like, overall, a pretty solid defensive effort on Tyrese Maxey. And then Jared McCain, who has been, again, playing some sensational basketball as of late, he had 15 points, but it took him 19 shots, so just 6 of 19 shooting, 0 of 7 from downtown. The Rockets' length really bothering him on the perimeter. Kelly Oubre, 0 of 5 from downtown, only 11 points there. Ricky Council had some strong moments in this game for the 76ers, 12 points, 5 of 7 shooting, but, there's just a distinct lack of talent on this 76ers roster. They've got, like $100 million in payroll, $120 million in payroll, just sitting on the bench out due to injury right now, or for one reason or another. So, there's only so much you can do if you're Nick Nurse and the 76ers. But back to the Rockets side of things here for a moment, or not for a moment, for the rest of the show. This is Locked On Rockets. We focus on the Rockets. Let's focus in the Terror Twins here. First off, Tari Eason. Great to see him kind of get his offensive rhythm back. He's really struggled these past couple games, just literally putting the ball in the bucket. And it was great to see him back out there and playing after that really hard fall he had last game, right? He fell, he hit the ground hard against the Wolves. Looked like he might have been injured, right? Went back to the locker room for a minute. There was some uncertainty about what was going on with him, but nothing there. He's healthy. He's good. And in this game, 14 points, 6 of 11 shooting, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, couple blocks off the bench in his 26 minutes. Just a strong performance from him. But Amen Thompson, man, this guy is just different. He's just unbelievably different. 19 points, 8 of 10 shooting, 12 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks. Did have 3 turnovers. Again, the Rockets as a team did a really bad job taking care of the ball in this one. But here's the thing. This is the wild thing with Amen Thompson. And I got to make sure I pull my notes up for this. Where is it? Here we go. Ime's got to figure out these rotations. Because in this game, on the second night of a back-to-back, a game that already went to OT the night before against the Wolves, a very hard-fought, high-stress NBA Cup game, Amen Thompson was subbed in with 5 minutes and 45 seconds left in the first quarter. And then he played the next 17 minutes and 45 seconds straight, no rest. And this isn't the first time that Ime's done this with Amen. There have been multiple games this season where Ime subs in Amen Thompson and then literally just doesn't ever sub him back out. In the second half of this game, Ime subbed in Amen Thompson with 6 minutes and 5 seconds left to play in the third quarter. He played the entire second half straight except for the final possession of regulation, the final 11-second possession of regulation, the isolation by Alperen Sengun, that final possession. That was the only play that he wasn't on the court for. So that means in the second half, so he played 70 minutes and 45 seconds straight in the first half, got his rest at halftime, and then when he checked in halfway through the third quarter, he played 22 minutes and 54 seconds straight. That is unbelievable. The fact that Amen Thompson has the stamina, the conditioning, the ability to do that and to not fall off. Like, his play hasn't suffered from it. The fact that he's able to maintain his intensity and his energy while being asked by Ime Udoka to play these absurd stretches of minutes in these games is unbelievable. He's just a freak of nature athlete. I don't know if any other NBA players can realistically do that and not just completely like pass out. Even Tari, who is like, you know, an Energizer bunny, right? You plug him into the game and he is all gas, no breaks, just like Amen Thompson. Tari starts to look gassed by about, you know, the 9, 10, 11 minute mark of being in the game. Tari looks like he's dripping sweat, about to pass over, you know, fall over on the side of the court, because Tari gives it his all when he's in the game. But Amen Thompson, cool as a cucumber. Just stone poker face, just, no, I'm good. Just leave me in the game. Whatever. I don't need to breathe. I don't need air. What is this? What are you talking about? It's just unbelievable. He continues to be so impressive in the minutes that he's getting. Some of his perimeter defense in this game, some of his recovery moments, the steals, the blocks, just an unreal athlete. Just wanted to give him his shout out there. And look, I bring this up to talk about the rotations here for Ime. We got news going into this game that Steven Adams is now apparently off of whatever restrictions that he did have that had him sitting out so many games, to where now Adams is apparently going to be available to play as long as there's a day of rest between games. So he's still not playing back-to-backs, but as long as there's a day of rest between games, Steven Adams will be available and ready for these games. However, I don't know how many times we're going to have this conversation, but Adams and Jock Landale have been so disappointing this season. Adams in this game was so-so. I mean, he missed a couple point-blank layups right at the rim, only 2 of 4 at the free throw line, and didn't really, neutralize Andre Drummond at all when they were in the game together. His screening didn't really, it had a couple moments where he was able to free some guys up, but nothing, fantastic being brought to the table from Steven Adams. In fact, Ime Udoka opted in the second half to not go back to Steven Adams. And this has been a recurring theme where Ime trots out one of the backup bigs, whether it's Jock, whether it's Adams, whatever, in the first half, and it doesn't look good. And then he changes the look in the second half, either by running Jabari at the 5 or going super small ball or whatever. And that's exactly what happened in this game. Ime Udoka opted to run Jabari Smith Jr. at the 5. And he would have probably done it for longer if Jabari wasn't in foul trouble at various points in this game. He finished with 5 total fouls, but Jabari was dealing with some foul trouble in this one in particular. And ultimately, I'm at the point where, for this Rockets rotation, Aaron Holiday should probably be getting minutes. Like, Aaron Holiday is just such a solid piece for this Rockets team. And first off, I was really shocked that he didn't get more burn in this game. Second night of a back-to-back, a game that went to OT. I kind of thought we might even see some first half Aaron Holiday minutes here, but he made his appearance in the second half, played some solid defense. He knocked down a three-pointer, a really tough kind of contested 3 from the corner. And look, I feel like the Rockets rotation issues can be solved by just, you move Jabari Smith Jr. to become the full-time backup 5. As long as it's not if it's a matchup that favors Steven Adams or Jock Landale, sure, run one of them. But by and large, I feel like Jabari is suited to being able to handle, 80%, 90% of most matchups in the NBA, and Jabari at the 5 favors the play style of that second unit. I highlighted it earlier, but the Rockets' second unit really struggles in the half court because Jock and Adams aren't giving enough of an advantage out of that 5 spot, either by setting screens or by providing gravity as rolling threats to the rim. The Rockets' half court offense just looks bad with those 2 guys in the game. And then when Sengun's back in, right, then they get back to all their actions, and Sengun's involved as the screener or as the facilitator and, making plays out of the middle of the floor or attacking, and that's when things look great. But if you put Jabari at the 5, then you can have 5-out spacing. You open up the driving lanes for Jalen Green. You can have Jabari pick and pop on the perimeter. You can get him more looks. You can play Jabari out of the post or at the elbow. And the benefit to moving Jabari to be the full-time backup 5, you open up more wing minutes for Amen Thompson and Tari Eason, right? You can get those guys probably well over 30 minutes a night if you give the backup 5 minutes from Jock Landale and Steven Adams to Jabari Smith Jr. It just makes too much sense to me. And to fix the rest of the rotation, so basically you would just domino effect, shift those minutes down a little bit, and then you could give Aaron Holiday anywhere from 6 to 8 minutes a night, 6 to 10 minutes a night, 6 to 12 minutes a night, whatever. Let him play just a little bit, right? So you have that extra piece in the rotation, shift everybody up one. Jabari becomes the backup 5, Tari and Amen take up more of the small forward, power forward minutes, whatever, and then Aaron Holiday eats up a little bit of those extra leftover guard minutes. It seems like a perfect solution to me. I don't know if Ime's, again, ready to bail on Adams and Jock quite just yet, but they've been so underwhelming so far this season. It just seems like it's a matter of time before that ultimately happens. But yeah, I'd love to see the change, and hopefully we do get a little bit more Aaron Holiday in the rotation. Again, he was so effective in his spot minutes last season, and he's been really useful in his spot minutes this season. He could be a great, ninth man in the rotation. And last but not least, Dillon Brooks. Look, I'm not gonna cook DB too bad for this game because he's been one of, if not the most consistent player for the Rockets all season long, from the start of the season up to this point. But this was a rough game for DB. 0 points, 0 of 11 shooting, 0 of 8 from downtown. Did have 4 assists, swung the ball a few different times, had a couple blocks, had the foul at the end of the game to give Tyrese Maxey the 3 free throws to force OT. This was an awful game from Dillon Brooks. And realistically, DB had 0 business being in the game at the end, right? I know Jabari was in foul trouble, whatnot, but the closing lineup, to finish out this game probably should have been, right, the starters minus Dillon Brooks plus Amen Thompson. That probably should have been your closing lineup. Instead, Ime opted to stick with Dillon Brooks on the floor, despite his inability to sink anything from the perimeter in this game and some of the whack decision-making. It was just a rough game from Dillon, but he's been so good. He's earned the cachet. I don't want to say he's earned his right to have an off night or two, but it's just, hopefully he bounces back. But he did the Rockets 0 favors in this game, especially on the offense of the court. It was a rough watch for Dillon Brooks in this one. But that's going to do it for thoughts on this game in particular. However, before we wrap this thing up, I do want to propose one question here to everybody watching. You're enjoying this, you're listening, maybe you're snacking on some Thanksgiving leftovers, or you're eating your second or your third Thanksgiving plate right now. So I want to ask you, dear listener, what is your Thanksgiving plate starting 5? So you get to pick 5 traditional Thanksgiving items to fill up your starting 5. And then I'll give you a bonus. You get a 6th man, and that'll be your dessert item. So for me, for my starting 5, I'm going turkey, dressing, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, and sweet potato casserole with pecans. Some people don't make sweet potato casserole with pecans. It's better with pecans. I will die on that hill. Pecans are incredible in sweet potato casserole. The marshmallow, the sweet potato, the pecans, the crunch. I go to town on that every year. And then for my 6th man, for my dessert, if you couldn't have guessed it by now with the pecan love just now, it's going to be good old-fashioned pecan pie. I want to know your ideal Thanksgiving plate starting 5. Tell me your 6th man, your go-to dessert. drop those thoughts in the YouTube comments. But as always, thank you so much for checking out the show. Remember, the best way you can help us grow our show is to listen every single day on a podcast platform of your choosing. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Drop us a comment while you're there. Subscribe to the daily Locked On Rockets newsletter. All that good stuff. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.